Legal Bytes Over Coffee, an ENS podcast where legal insight meets coffee conversation. I'm Priyanka Roth from the ENS TMT team, and every few weeks I'm joined by a guest from either across our African offices or one of our industry partners or even a client to discuss what's happening at the intersection of tech and regulation and business. And together during the conversation, we'll be unpacking stories, making headlines or challenges from practice, and importantly, the contractual and governance questions that we want organizations to be thinking about and what they're actually navigating in an increasingly digital world. Pour yourself a cup and let's get into this week's Legal Bites. Today, we're diving into a topic that seems to be making headlines almost daily, if not multiple times a day, but data breaches and cyber crimes and cyber incidents and the growing challenges that organizations are facing in managing their digital risk. And I'm so excited to be joined by my colleague Tsepo Moleko from our forensics department at ENS. He specializes in cybercrime investigations, digital forensics, and all of that really cool and interesting stuff. And a lot of his work focuses on actually helping our clients navigate cyber incidents and rapidly, very quick response, understanding what happened, where something went wrong, and actually trying to navigate the aftermath of a breach. So he's bringing a lot of his practical experience right to the perspective of figuring out cybersecurity and working with organizations to understand what incidents occurred and helping them uncover those facts. So Tsepo, welcome to Legal Bites Over Coffee.
Thank you. Thanks for that very great introduction, Priyanka.
It's a pleasure. Okay, so I don't know if you're familiar with the format, but it is called Legal Bites Over Coffee, and we start with a bit of an icebreaker or a bit of a iced coffee breaker, depending on what your answer will be. But we always start with coffee. So I ask you to guess how I take mine, and I have had very interesting guesses in the past few episodes. There's no pressure. But I'll first ask you, how do you take your coffee? Do you drink coffee?
Yes, I do. And I actually think I would take coffee similar to you because we're all in the tech space. So I'm pretty sure I can guess to some extent. So
Yeah.
I love my coffee black and strong.
Okay.
And yeah, over the years, I've taken some milk and stuff like that, but now it's just strong and black. But if I do have it with milk, it's probably like oat or almond milk, and a little bit of it, not a lot. But I don't take any sugar in any of the coffees that I take. But I would guess you'd take a bit of sugar.
If it is like a latte, like a flavored latte, I like the syrupy ones, but every day I have mine. I don't have my coffee black, but I like it strong. So I also have a little bit of milk in it, and I've now started having the oat milk, and not for health reasons. I just feel like it tastes better with oat or almond milk as well. So yeah, and depending on the day, I'll have a couple of cups. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Nah,
was
similar
speaking
to me.
to
I'll have a couple of cups a day.
I was speaking to Linda from our intelligence team. She was on one of our earlier episodes, and I was very surprised to learn that she doesn't drink coffee. And I just said for the kind of work that she does, I would I would expect her to be drinking coffee. So similar to what you
Yeah.
just said, in our industry, we probably get
But
through a lot of coffee.
yeah, no, we do. But Linda's British, so I'm sure she loves her tea.
Yeah, well, hot chocolate.
Ah,
That's what
is
I
it?
learned. Which was also another surprising
Yeah,
fact to learn. But
that's
yeah, I also had that
surprising.
thought. Okay, so let's move on to our first proper segment, Seppo. It's called Tech on the Ground. And I just start off by saying we hear about data breaches almost on a daily basis, whether it's because a client wants our help or because we're reading about it online or, wherever we consume our news. But I thought we could start about talking about what happens in your world in forensics, the kind of work that you do as well. Like what's happening on the ground on your side?
Yeah, so yeah, as you said, with us, we deal with a lot of data breaches on a daily basis, both personal and organizational. But actually on the ground right now, it's top of mind, and in the digital forensic sort of cybercrime world is I'd actually like to discuss something that came about a couple of days ago now, I think, where Meta says that they're moving away from the use of mobile numbers for their messaging
Mm.
services to a user profile. So it will be similar to like a Telegram account where you can search someone's user profile and send messages that way. But there's pros and cons, obviously. So the pros are uh, privacy and anonymity of your cell phone number. Um, Not anyone that will have your cell phone number now, it's rather the username. But on the other side, when it comes to cybercrime investigations or digital forensics investigations, we can't confirm whose chat it was using a cell
Mm.
phone number now, but only a username. But I mean, people can change usernames anytime, all the time. So the matching of the chats, let's say me and you are doing a crime and we discussing exactly how we're going to perpetrate the crime, and law enforcement or any digital forensics expert gets a hold of my device, my cell phone, and normally you'd see the number on the other side, right? But now you get a username, and if you change your username, you can say, no, that was never my username. This was my username, and things like that. So it might be more
Oh, wow.
challenging on cybercrime investigations, not only corporate investigations, but the big cybercrime investigations or the big raids that happen where, let's say, there's a syndicate working out of a building in wherever in the world, Cape Town, for example, and they seize computers and they seize cell phones. When they're investigating who they're planning this with or who the other syndicate members are, they won't necessarily see the numbers, and they can look the numbers up, but they'll see the user profiles and might never know who's behind that user profile. So it's a bit of it's great for tech and great for privacy and anonymity, but law enforcement is going to have a tough time. Having said that, Telegram's had it for quite a while, and it's been reported around the world that Telegram is now one of the biggest havens when it comes to leaked data and
Mm.
crime, because the hackers all communicate on Telegram. There's huge Telegram groups so that they invite themselves to and sell information that way. So the dark web is now basically moved from the dark web and the web to Telegram as a platform. So that's I thought that was interesting um, as to what's happening on the ground.
Hadn't even thought of it from that perspective, but that's so true. And it would be a lot of crimes these days are, I mean, not even just cyber crimes, but just general, criminals liaising with each other. Everything now happens online and all of that. So, what do you think will, what do you think will be the workaround, or is that something that you guys
Uh,
would still need to explore?
Yeah, we'll need to explore. I mean, there hasn't been a workaround on Telegram, and it's been happening for quite a while. Um, Look,
Mm.
it's quite difficult to investigate anything that's in the dark web or anything that's on these platforms, purely because they designed for privacy and anonymity.
Yeah.
And it's going to be even more challenging. It's going to be, yeah, way more challenging now on WhatsApp, even because if you think about it, everyone just communicates on WhatsApp. So if there's any crime that's planned, whether cybercrime or traditional crimes, a lot of it happens on WhatsApp and other
Exactly. Yeah.
messaging platforms. And we've been successful as an industry on getting access to those discussions and chats. but now I won't be able to resolve who the person is on the other side. The username can be deceiving or can write anything on there.
And
And it's going to be a huge challenge.
and from your side, Seppo, would you have you had much luck with requesting the sort of back end information from the platform providers where there is username linked profiles to find out who is the individual behind the username? Is that something that you guys have done in the past or have had any success with?
No, not as practitioners. Obviously, if
Mm,
law enforcement is involved, if they have the powers to obtain this information, and obviously we've guided them on exactly what to do and how to request this information. Also, in that, there's been very minimal success in actually solving the crime because we obtained this information from these platforms. Um, but generally, because we're in South Africa, the platforms that are based internationally really aren't obliged to answering our requests.
yeah.
So it's a huge challenge. Law enforcement gets it right now and then, not always, but it does happen that we get this information. But as practitioners, it's still a big one for us to solve.
Good luck. Yeah, I hadn't I hadn't given a thought before to that perspective, but I think it makes the area you're in an interesting one because it's continuously needing to respond to everything happening around us in cyberspace and all of that. So, yeah, good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough, but it's good.
All right, let's move from headlines into practice, Tsepo. I thought, so what we usually do in this segment is we discuss some of the challenges that, you and I are grappling with on the ground. And what I thought I would share from my side. So I'm in the TMT space, and part of that is dealing with data breaches, not in the way you deal with them, but more on the legal side, identifying if something is a reportable data breach. Is this something that is triggering the scope of POPI or GDPR or another jurisdiction, and guiding clients to figure out how do they actually report that data breach, and what goes into the communication to the regulator or to affected data subjects. And it's very interesting that in the last 2 weeks, I have responded to about 5 separate data breach requests, and not from South African companies or not from, South African based clients, but from our network of international partners. So it's been really interesting because it's organizations that, are headquartered in another country. They have employees who are here, or they have customers who are here, and it's raised a few interesting points. And the first one is that the question of when is POPI applicable always trips up our international colleagues, because they think, well, we're referring it to you guys in South Africa because we see that it's South African citizens whose data has been affected. But that's not the trigger for POPI. POPI says that it is any information that is processed in South Africa, regardless of who it belongs to. If it's processed within our borders and that has been compromised, then that is what is where the reporting obligations come from. And it could be the client's local offices, it could be the offices based in another country. It doesn't discriminate between local and foreign organizations. That's the first piece. And the second piece I thought that was really interesting, and I'd like to perhaps debate it with you, perhaps separately. I think a podcast episode might be too short for us to consider this, but it was a discussion I had with an international colleague yesterday, where we were trying to understand, like, under POPI, the trigger for notification is once we become reasonably aware that personal information has been accessed or acquired by an unauthorized person. That's when the notification obligation is triggered. And the question we're trying to analyze is, when does access take place? Because the facts of the incident in for this matter was that there's a very large data set that was compromised. And when they had their forensic experts analyze all the logs, the experts picked up that there seemed to be a tool that the threat actors used that automatically opened each file and closed it, opened each file, closed it, and moved on almost to find files, like it was looking for something, like it had been instructed to go find specific data. And this tool had just moved very quickly past all the South African information. And the question was then, well, was there access? If a tool had in very, like within milliseconds, opened something and closed it and moved on. So we're going to try that argument and see. But I do think there's merit in it
Yeah.
because it is an interesting question.
Mhm.
But
Sure.
yeah, so I just thought I'd share that. I don't know if you have any reactions to it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I do. Firstly, this is a huge topic, right? Just access to information and when a breach starts.
Mm,
So there's a few things to consider, and I'll take you through our process and how we view it. Obviously, you view it differently, but it's obviously information that we need to work on together to see what is accessed, what is copied, and where the intrusion took place. So how we look at it is we look at where the first point of compromise is. And normally, when it comes to data breaches, there's normally a username password that had been compromised, or at some point anyway, or whether it's via phishing or things like that, or social engineering. Um, and then once they gain access to the organization's servers, let's look at documents sitting on a server. They get access to that. The perpetrators normally know what they're looking for in a specific organization, or they can grab whatever they have access to. But what I'm hearing from you is, in that case, they had a specific script looking for documents. They probably in the script there must have
mm,
been a parameter to say all documents that have, let's say, an ID number in them, and then there would be a string for an ID number. Remember, these things are programmed in advance, and they know exactly what the program does, right? So in that case, they've got access to the environment, and then they go around looking for um, all of the documents. So when we do our investigation on that server, we'd see when they access the information, or when they access the server, the script that they downloaded onto a specific folder, so that it can run as if it's an administrator of the system, because they now have the username and password. And then they scan through all of the documents. Now, this scanning through is number one, access. And
mm.
you can see that they're looking at, on a technical point of view, they're looking at specific documents. It opens it, quickly scans through it, and closes it. Right now, that's technically that is access. Now we look for a second factor on our side, which is they may have accessed it, but did they copy it out, or exfiltration? And that is the more crucial aspect of it. The full chain is very important, because now the perpetrators know exactly what's in our systems. But what did they take out of the organization that, if it's sold in the dark web or in open platforms, would basically kill the
Yeah,
reputation of the organization and other things. There's also share prices and things like that that could embarrass the organization, that their technology or their procedures and processes technologically and infrastructure security are weak. So we look at it in that chain, right? The more critical one is the exfiltration, because we know that there's information that went out, and obviously when we've done a lot of work together, and that's the first batch of information that we would alert you to, that they've actually copied these
mm,
types of files. And then, what was accessed might be crucially important, because then now the perpetrators know exactly what's in the organizations, data and systems.
that is
Um,
interesting.
Yeah, so that's the chain that we look at when we look at these data breaches. So we look at the whole chain, but it's important to know what was copied out, because that could be manipulated and changed back, and something done to it. But also part of the chain is what I'm referring to now is manipulation while the information is on the systems, because
Mm,
then it compromises the integrity of the information that the organization has and will use in the future. It's example in the insurance industry, the redemption is changed to say this is the bank account that it must be paid to. Now, when there's a claim, it might be paid to the wrong bank account, and that is another leg where,
mm.
um, you know, a compromise that had happened compromises the integrity of the data that's sitting in the organization. So yeah,
It's
uh, it's
it's
it's a
really
big one.
interesting. It is a
Yeah.
big one, and that is the exact those are the metrics for that Poppy assigns to reportability, where it does look at, security is something that is compromised because the integrity of information, the confidentiality of that information has been affected. And the threshold is so low. It's set at access. It's not even set at exfiltration. It
Yeah.
doesn't even look at, what is the impact? Was there a negative impact to the organization, to the data subjects whose information was compromised? Like under the GDPR and UK data protection law, it looks at the risk and impact to data subjects as the trigger for notification. And here we don't have that. So, it is an unfortunate thing, because I think, especially from what you're saying, I'm going to have to talk to you about it more offline, so you can actually get
Mhm.
the facts as well. But I would appreciate
Yeah.
your input there. But it really is an interesting time, and how data breaches are managed and responded to by an organization. It's not just, is this legally reportable, but exactly what you're saying. How will our reputation be affected, and what is our risk appetite? Do we hold back on notification because we are worried about what this will do, or we're prepared to take a fine from the regulator versus a loss of goodwill now from our customers, from our shareholders, and all of that. So there's a lot of competing factors that go behind a data breach. But let's flick over to you. What is happening on your side? What are you dealing with now in practice?
In practice, there's quite a lot of data breaches, as you know. But currently, what we're dealing with is business email compromise and ransomware. But I won't talk about ransomware now, because that's a huge topic, and it's a different topic. But organization is compromised, and there's a business email compromise. The scammers, perpetrators look through all of the finance information. They find invoices that the finance team is supposed to send out. Um, and what they do is change the banking details. They send it out to their client who's supposed to pay them, right? The client pays into the wrong bank account, because of their procedures are also not in the right frame of mind, or they trusting that because it comes from a legitimate source, being the normal username and password, or the normal domain where they normally receive information from, or invoices from. They trust that it's there. It's a correct change of banking details, right? Now, the common denominator here is trust, right? Because they trusting that it comes from a legitimate source, comes from a legitimate email address. Uh, the change is legitimate. They would obviously, on their client side, they would ask for a change of banking confirmation and all the other jazz. But obviously, because the perpetrator is in the organization's emails, they would then submit all of that information. because either they've created some other documents or whatever. Typically called a man-in-the-middle attack or business email compromise, because both parties are thinking they're talking to the same person or to the correct people, but there's someone in the middle that's compromised the trust of the two parties. Now, that's what we mainly dealing with. A few cases are in our sphere, but the reality with that is we normally look at the first point of compromise, because that is the point of compromise that broke the trust in the chain, right? And organizations currently really don't know their security posture. They don't do any, assessments to see if this part of the business is compromised. Are there steps that we can take, or is there technology that would ensure that the rest of the business is not compromised, or at least an alert is sent somewhere to someone who has the knowledge to stop the breach? So currently, there's a lot of investment in security technology and technology as a whole. I mean, AI, there's a huge investment in AI. I think the investment in AI has gone up. Cybersecurity investment is still up there. So the only thing is, cybercrimes happen so much currently, all the technology. The technology is still catching up, but organizations, even though the spend has gone up, but it's gone up after a breach has happened. Organizations just don't spend on technology if the breach hasn't happened. So those are the things that we're looking at. And a lot of the organizations that are breached and they experience financial loss or data loss, the security posture before and after the breach is completely different. Before the breach, they just relied on a small tech firm or one or two internal people, just making sure that the users are up and running. And then after the breach, they've got great security technology, they've got security consultants, and they've got capacity internally to make sure that their systems are monitored. And if there's a compromise that happens afterwards, they know exactly what to do. So that's also another a topic for another day. But other than the business email compromise part of things is obviously the ransomware, where if organizations' files are locked, do they have backups to go back to? And it's not only as simple as do we have backups, because those can be compromised as well, but to look at the infrastructure and say, where's the best point? Well, number one, what's the relevant data that we want to protect? Categorize that data. And then number two, how are we backing up this data? Is there redundancy? If something happens to this network today, can we spin up in an hour to another network where everything can go back to normal? And obviously, when you do these assessments, you have to assess how long are you willing to accept that your organization will not will be out of
Your
action.
downtime. Yeah.
The downtime, yeah.
I think that's what a lot of organizations don't realize. The more, like the massive pro of becoming increasingly digitized is, all the benefits of tech. You are becoming more efficient, you're quicker, everything is online. But if that system is compromised, that's massive. What is one day worth to your business if you're not able to make money?
Yeah.
And a lot of organizations don't prioritize their, like making sure that they do have resilient cyber security in place, because the data breaches are often inevitable. We tell our clients it's going to happen. It's what you have in place that matters at the time it does. And I think that's why we're seeing like the rise in stats on data breaches is because we're seeing that trend as organizations are becoming more digitized. So are the numbers also increasing for data breaches? And that correlation can't be a coincidence.
Yeah, no, definitely. I normally say it's either you've been compromised, or you don't know that you've been
Yeah,
compromised.
I
It's
don't
better
know.
that you know.
And I don't know what the analysis is now, but the last time I looked at this was last year, and it was an IBM report. They do these reports every year on data breaches and trends, and it was either last year or the year before, but it said that on average it takes organizations about 200 plus days to even know that they've been
Yeah,
compromised.
yeah,
And it's an interesting question from a legal perspective because our information regulator is very well staffed with forensic experts, as you know, and they will interrogate the organization to see, okay, what measures did you have in place? And were those measures sufficient in this day and age of cyber attacks to pick up that there was a breach, reasonably? Like, or is this 200 plus delay normal? Is it reasonable?
mm,
Because you had in place the best measures possible, but it still took you so long to pick it up. So it's a very interesting one.
yeah. I can add on to that and say
Please.
it takes
Yeah.
another 100 days or so, just less than 100 days to recover from a data breach. So that's a
Yeah.
whole year that
Yeah.
basically people, before you actually know exactly what had happened and you've recovered from it, that's a full year that people or perpetrators have been in your organization and things
And
like that.
it's kind of like living in your house and there's a burglar in your house that has been living there in one of your rooms for for several months without you knowing and is
Mhm.
quietly taking things and taking it away over time, and then you have to figure out what has been missing and actually getting your premises secure again. So it is deeply invasive. Okay, so but we
Uh,
could speak
uh,
about this for hours.
yeah, we could. Yeah, no, that's another one we could speak for hours on.
But look, we are doing our data breach simulation in a couple of, well, from the time we're doing this recording, it's going to be at the end of this month in July.
Oh,
But I think when this
yes.
recording comes out, it'll probably be a week to go. But I'm very excited to be there with you and our team
Oh,
from
yes.
CyberLogic here, where we're going to actually do a simulation together of one of these causes of data breaches. We won't say now which one.
Yeah.
You may have
Uh,
dropped a couple clues, but
no, I tried not to. And that one's interesting, right? Because there's all the role players that you would need in a room there when it comes to response.
yeah.
But I won't disclose too much. But that I'm very excited about that.
No, I'm also excited. Okay, Tsepo, so our last segment before we move on to our close is the clause of choice. But depending on my guest, I call it the concept of choice, and that's applicable to you because you're not so much a legal guru as you are a forensic guru. So I have asked you to bring for us today a concept that is relevant to your space that you find interesting. So what have you brought?
Yeah, so in my space and this segment's very interesting, and I love the concept that you're trying to bring here is, but in my space, the clause or the phrase that I'd like to bring is normally organizations don't know that they've been breached until the breach has happened, and you know organizations should start doing internal threat modeling and risk management and check their own IT environments to see that, if a breach happens, how will they respond to it? And normally ask a question, did the organization actually know what they have on their systems or their IT environment looked like before the incident? Hence, earlier I said the budget for cyber crimes before and after for cybersecurity before and after a breach looks very different. So what I'd like to bring to this segment of it is organizations should really look at their IT systems and understand them so that they're able to protect those environments before cybercrime happens or before a data breach happens.
There's a very simple but cannot be stated enough concept. So thank you.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, no, organizations currently are just not secure. And we see this on a daily basis from the small organizations to the large organizations with over 5,000, 10,000 people, or let me say over 500 people in the sense of a large organization.
Yeah.
people just don't know what they have when it comes to technology wise. Hence, cyber criminals can go into old servers and also do social engineering on their people because they don't do adequate training, for example, for their people to understand how a cybercrime looks like, how a data breach looks like, if their username and passwords are compromised, exactly what they should do, and who they should report it to so that the organization is aware. A simple incident response plan that the organizations just don't know. Then they don't have that.
Yeah, it has to make sense as well. I mean, we've moved away for a very long time now from doing just theoretical security training or poppy awareness training, because poppy requires one of the provisions of poppy is all about security and understanding it, but it doesn't help to tell clients and their staff, oh, you have to have sufficient security to protect your data, because that means very little to them. It really needs to be made practical, and I think that's where training becomes effective. It needs to be practical, it needs to be effective. It's pointless having a template incident response plan that actually doesn't match the governance of the organization. It mentions the wrong roles, or it just almost looks good on paper but doesn't translate into practice. And I think that's where guys like you become so important to an organization, and their resilience is making sure that there is that proper application to what information do we have, how is that evolving, how is that moving, and what do we need to do constantly to protect the entire life cycle of that data. Always keeping in mind, how do we protect its integrity and its confidentiality, and how do we react when something goes wrong.
Mm. Yeah, I think you've coined it. I think you've wrapped up the discussion quite well. Our training training in general has evolved from just providing documentation and discussions with people to really, on a practical level, what does this entail and what does this mean to your organization? There's lots of case studies even out there of what has happened to other organizations. And I think we're sitting with that information that is crucial for organizations to learn from. And I think that's also important in the South African context as well.
Agreed. All right, Seppo, we're going to close things off, and I always end with a quick game of just some rapid fire views from my guest on anything relating to the topic. So today I've called, well, not me, it's Copilot, but Copilot has called this game First Instincts. So I'm going to give you a cybersecurity topic, and then you just respond with the first option that comes to mind. I'm going to give you a few options for each topic, and I'm just going to do a few, not too many. And yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind, and don't explain your answer, just gut feel. Okay, topic 1, ransomware. Your options are overhyped, serious, or existential.
Ooh, let me go serious.
Okay, option 2 is human error. Your options are biggest risk, one of many, or overstated.
Biggest risk.
Option 3 is boards and cybersecurity, engaged, improving, or too far behind.
Too far behind.
Next topic is data breach notification. I hope you answer the right way for this one. Burden, necessity, or competitive advantage?
Competitive advantage.
Okay. The last one is the future of cybersecurity. Is it reactive, proactive, or predictive?
Proactive.
Great stuff. Thanks, Tip. Well, that's a wrap on today's episode of Legal Bites Over Coffee, and thank you for joining me. I really liked this conversation. It's a topic that's quite close to my heart and yours as well, I know. So thank you.
Thank you for that. I really enjoyed the session.
Great.
Yeah.
And to our listeners, if you found this discussion useful, subscribe, join us again. You can reach out to Tsepo as well. But until next time, keep your coffee warm and your governance questions hot. Thank you.